are these people?
All right. I've got a quick lightning round that I wanted to run through real quick. All right. First, lightning round. Keith McHenry shared this. Miami just canceled its November election and pushed it back to 2026 by 1 year. No public vote, just canceled. As a result, term-limited officials like Mayor Suarez and Joe Carollo get to stick around an extra year. That's not democracy, it's a power grab. And the scary thing is the precedent. If one city can delay elections for participation, quote unquote, what's to stop others from doing it to silence opposition? Scary. All right. So that's that one.
Participation awards?
Yes. Next. I subscribe to inequality.org. That's a newsletter and a website. This came in my email inbox. I wanted to shout out and give a mention. 100 rural hospitals in the past 5 years have stopped delivering babies because their business line ranks it among the least profitable. So no maternity wards rurally. You've got to go to a larger city to give birth. Capitalism. As Congress debates massive Medicaid cuts, more than 700 rural hospitals face the risk of complete closure. That's great. So, hope you're having babies soon.
Yeah.
And a Ferengi without profit.
It's no Ferengi at all.
Now, we also, speaking of bribery and corruption, this certainly looks pretty naked. First, Toyota donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration. Then, Trump's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said they didn't have to pay a $40 million consumer in refunds anymore. That alone pays itself off. And now, Trump's DOJ just closed this investigation into allegations of Toyota bribery. Our government is up for sale. That's via Public Citizen. Okay, so we've got that.
And now for something completely different.
Yep. What happened here? Let's refresh. F5.
And now for something completely different.
Now, this is a really interesting story. So I had this story in my notes to bring for tonight. And then I Googled it, or I looked it up. I just did a search. And it turns out it was a complete hoax. So I'm bringing it to show that people can get fooled by narratives and tweets, and nonsense is pushed and never followed up on and corrected. So what had happened was, I saw this tweet that said the National Archives at College Park is about to go dark. Effective July 7th, it's becoming a restricted access federal facility, meaning everyday Americans will no longer have public access to the very records that hold our government accountable. This is where receipts live, declassified files, presidential documents, historical memos, and now they're walling it off behind a vague, legitimate business needs standard. Well, not so fast, my friend.
Receipts, proof,
no.
Timeline, screenshots, everything.
Well, apparently that post was pulled down like a day later. Such a notice briefly appeared on the website and then planned changes in security protocol. Later, however, the account on X said that the facility would remain open to the general public and that the organization's senior advisor said the planned changes were canceled before they took effect. Apparently, somebody leaked this out. They may have tried to leak this out or tried to execute it. Somebody leaked it out and they had to pull it back. All right. And a bunch of people, they referenced this tweet showing that the pink notice did above seem to indeed to appear on the National Archives website in the section detailing access, but the next day it was gone. So they're not shutting down the National Archives website. So if you hear anybody say that, that is misinformation. And even I fell for it at one point. All right.
Malinformation, even.
Now, this one I did want to spend a couple of minutes on. Fiorella and Vanessa Beeley talked about this on their new podcast as well, which you can find over on Fiorella's Substack, fiorellaisabel.substack.com. My advice here is to stay away from marches, major cities on July 4th. All right. Now, the reason why, I'm not telling anyone what to do, but my family and I won't be there, I can tell you for sure. The timing of another No Kings planned rally feels like coincidentally perfect symmetry with this detailed exercise run last April. What do I mean? Last April, there was a tabletop exercise run by the National Blueprint for Biodefense, which is apparently an NGO that has government funding and has some pretty heavy-duty players on it. They ran a tabletop exercise, and anyone who's in the conspiracy theory world will know that tabletop exercises
Warhammer or
typically are masks for what they plan to happen and game out how they want a response to something to happen. All right. This one was about
the dice. Did you roll the dice?
a literal biological. This was about a literal biological thing. So this was a more than 160-page report that was generated. And what was this generated about? The following hypothetical opening remarks by the chair of a congressional joint inquiry provide context for this report by portraying a biological attack sufficient to cause the catastrophic consequences warned of by the Bipartisan Commission on Biodefense. That's this study. The scenario describes how a biological agent could target humans and animals, how it could emerge, some of the key interagency capabilities required to address it and the agent and its impacts, and the consequences of failure. And when is this supposed to happen? July 4th, 2025. Theoretically, again, this study happened in April of 2024. So they were projecting that a year out, there would be some mass casualty event that killed at least 280,000 Americans and injured another 400,000, and also killed 200,000 pets and 800,000 animals sickened. They're talking about another COVID or another biological type of attack, potentially. Now, my feeling is that you don't use, now this, by the way, is the full report. I'm going to link this in the description. It's 177 pages. They don't put together a 177-page report, full commission. By the way, the commissioner is none other than former Senator Joe Lieberman, who was the running mate for Al Gore in the 2020 election. Tom Ridge, who was the Homeland Security Secretary during 9/11. Donna Shalala, Health and Human Services during 9/11. Do we see some kind of a pattern developing here? People who had been involved with national response during a national crisis.
9, 11.
As I said, the amount of time, resources, and planning around a quote-unquote fictitious event in the future suggests that they're expecting such an event. It's predictive programming, like Event 201 ahead of COVID, like the laptop exercise that the government ran with social media companies ahead of the 2020 election. All right, that prepared them. Right. And I link to the original reporting for Event 201, as well as this report here. All right. Now, somebody said the more that I look into this NGO, the shadier they get. They receive grants from Open Philanthropy, which seems like an even bigger red flag than the name would suggest.
Where's the money, Lebowski?
Right? Open Philanthropy recommended a grant of over $5 million over 2 years to the Vaccine Formulation Institute to support the clinical development of novel open access adjuvants. Adjuvants are key components added to vaccines that enhance the body's immune response. Yeah, this is not good stuff. I asked if there was any follow-up, but there hadn't been. Also, somebody else, Sword of Truth, says, I've posted about this too. Could be nothing, could be something they launch AI.gov on July 4th as well. I'm sure it's no coincidence that it's on Independence Day.
Oh, we're going to have the Jewish space lasers hit the White House.
Right.
You know?
So July 4th.
It's going to be like in the movie Independence Day with Will Smith.
Why do they pull all these resources together for a study if nothing's going to happen? An awful lot to be invested in. All right. Like I said, I mentioned this earlier, the one about FEMA. So check that out. And then finally, we want to get to everybody's GoFundMes and supporting independent media. So Chanda, again, huge update. Terry the Tumor is dead. So smartest man in the room says no more tumor. Great news.
It's not a tumor.
Not anymore.
Not a tumor.
Not
at all.
anymore. So most recent update is here. All right. Again, he's the one showing me imagery inside the lung and body. She still has pain and arthritis, but that's arthritis and that's not cancer. That's a whole better thing. All right. So support Chanda. Throw her a couple of bucks on her GoFundMe. We'll put that in the description on the Substack. Also, Andrew Zygmunt Smith, who, by the way, had a birthday this weekend. Happy birthday, Andrew. His daughter, AnnaMari, needs some help, and they can use some money fighting her brain tumors as well. They went to Cincinnati and did 6 weeks of intensive therapy. She's home now, and anything you can do there. Our brother Oz the Boomer also fighting a little on the cancer side. God damn it, fuck cancer. He could use some help on his Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/Oz the Boomer, all one word. So you can do that. Hook him up with a couple of bucks. And then again, we've got Aspen Benson. That's Halo's daughter. Halo, very one of the member of our community, Assange activist, still sending postcards to us for Pardon Assange to send out to Congress people, self-addressed and stamped. All right. Her daughter is facing devastating charges after a trip gone wrong. We talked about that last week. They need to raise over $30,000 for her defense. How they doing so far? They haven't even gotten to 1,000 yet. So they've got a long way to go. Anything anyone can do to help, please. Aspen Benson. Look it up over on GoFundMe. Help Aspen fight unjust charges. Again, we'll have that link. Finally, we got Indie News Now. That's the website that we put together to showcase independent media, corporate-free independent media. By the way, also, Gordon Dimmack started a new website. Gordon Dimmack's website is included on IndieNewsNow.com. All right, but GordonDimmack.com, he launched a brand new version of his WordPress site, and he shared that we're now including his posts in IndieNewsNow.com, which is really cool. Appreciate Gordon, love him to death. Another Indie Media Award honoree, class of 2023. One of the best of the best. Appreciate Gordon. All right. Oh, look at that. There's Descent in Bloom. She's over on TikTok too, so you can follow her over there. All right. Next, that's Gordon's site. Then we've got our merch store finally, and then we can get to boats. All right. We've got the merch store, so you can check that out. That's buy my merch, little bitch. Indie News Order, Indie News Shop. .itemorder.com.
Buy my merch right quick. Look at my shirt, little bitch. Go to my website.
That's, yeah, IndieNewsNow.com. That's my website. All right. And that's I just dropped the link in the chat for for the new shop. Again, if you can't pick up a shirt, hook us up with a couple of bucks. Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network.
Money, please.
PayPal.me/Indie News Network. IndieNewsNow.com, that's where we just were. INNNewsletter.com and IndieMediaToday.com over on Substack. Fund the media you want to see. Support independent media. I love you all. Thank you so much. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. Have a good night, everybody. Love you.
Bye, Felicia.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want?